My husband was the love of my life until I learned he'd been sleeping with my sister. 2 years every day, a choice. The worst part? Everyone knew but me, even my mother. We met in a Brooklyn coffee shop 5 years ago. David spoke success fluently and made me feel singular. A year later, we married. Emma cried through her toast at our small wedding in Queens. I mistook it for joy. Back then, I believed loyalty was a fact, not a choice. She was my maid of honor, my best friend, my sister. I thought it was something you could count on. The first 3 years were perfect. We bought a house, adopted a golden retriever named Max, and started talking about having kids. David worked in finance, long hours, but good money. Emma lived nearby, teaching yoga. She'd come over for dinner twice a week, sometimes staying in our guest room. I loved having her around. My husband and my sister getting along so well felt like a blessing. Then the seams started to pull. David would check his phone and flip it face down when I entered the room. He'd volunteered to pick up Emma from the airport. "You're tired from work, babe. I'll get her." I thought he was being thoughtful. Emma started canceling our weekly sister brunches. "Too busy with clients," she'd text, but she'd still show up for dinners at our place. I noticed she'd started dressing differently around David, tighter clothes, more makeup. When I mentioned it, she laughed. Finally, taking care of myself. I was happy for her. Then came the night that changed everything. Thursday in March, around 9 p.m., David said he had to work late. Emma texted about a meditation workshop. I decided to surprise David with Chinese takeout at his office. His office was dark. The security guard looked up from his phone. He left around 7. My stomach dropped. I called David. No answer. I called Emma. Straight to voicemail. My body knew before my mind. I drove home in a daze, racing through explanations I didn't believe. When I pulled into my driveway, Emma's car was parked down the street, not in front of our house like normal. Down the street, hidden. The house held its breath. The key clicked metal on metal too loud. I walked in as quietly as possible. Max didn't bark, his eyes lifted, low and apologetic. Upstairs, the wood talked in dry winter sounds. Between those sounds, a breath that wasn't mine. I could hear it coming from my bedroom, our bedroom, the bedroom where David and I made love, where we talked about baby names, where I cried in his arms when my dad died. The door was slightly open, and there they were, my husband, my sister, in my bed. On my wedding anniversary sheets, the ones Emma had given us as a gift. Emma saw me first. Her eyes went wide, and she screamed. David jumped up, scrambling for his pants. "Babe, wait, I can explain." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Feeling switched off, clean, surgical. What remained was the cold, wrists, gums, the back of my tongue. Emma wrapped herself in my robe and started crying. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "How long?" My voice sounded strange, distant. David couldn't look at me. 2 years, Emma whispered. 2 years, 730 rehearsals of a lie. 730 days of family dinners where they played house with me like I was some kind of joke. David finally spoke. "It started when you were traveling for your dad. We didn't mean for it to go this far." "Don't," I held up my hand. "Don't tell me you didn't mean it. Not for 2 years. That's a choice you made every single day." Emma was sobbing now, mascara running down her face. "I love him. I've loved him since your wedding. I tried to stop, but since my wedding, the cold spread through my chest. You stood next to me. You gave a speech about how happy you were for us." "I was happy for you," she whispered, but I couldn't help how I felt. I looked at David, the man I'd trusted with everything. "Get out of my house. This is my house too," he said. Audacity dressed like certainty. Not anymore. I turned and walked out. Max followed me. At least the dog knew where loyalty lived. But wait, it gets worse. The next day, I confronted my mother. That's when she told me. She knew. She'd walked in on them 6 months ago at Emma's apartment when she had a key to water her plants. 6 months, she said nothing. "I didn't want to ruin the family," she said. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "What about me? Am I not family?" She started crying. "Emma told me she'd been in love with David since your wedding day, that she tried to stop it, but they couldn't help their feelings. I talked to them both. I tried." "You tried by keeping it secret from me, by letting me have dinners with them, by watching me smile at my own humiliation?" My father didn't know. When I told him, he went pale, then red, then silent. He hasn't spoken to my mother the same way since. They sleep in separate bedrooms now. So that's what I accomplished, destroying my parents' marriage by getting cheated on. The divorce was brutal. David wanted to keep the house because Emma's place is too small. He actually said that. He wanted me to leave my home so he could move my sister in. I fought for that house like it was the last piece of myself I could save. On the third mediation, I kept the deed and Max. He kept the bonus and the ring receipts. Betrayal isn't private, it drafts an audience. My friends didn't know whose side to take. Half of them went neutral, which felt like choosing them. Family gatherings became minefields. Thanksgiving, Christmas, forget it. My younger brother tried to stay neutral until I asked him how he'd feel if his wife slept with his brother. He hasn't spoken to Emma since. The worst moments were the small ones. Finding Emma's hair tie in my bathroom drawer. Realizing that business trip David took last spring was probably with her. Remembering how Emma once said, "I was so lucky to have David," and wondering if she was already sleeping with him. Every memory became contaminated. Every happy moment had to be questioned. I started therapy with Dr. Morrison. She told me I needed to process my anger, that keeping it inside would destroy me. But how do you process something like this? How do you make sense of the two people you loved most conspiring against you for 2 years? 3 months after I moved out temporarily during the divorce proceedings, I heard they got engaged. Emma posted it on Instagram. I'd blocked them both, but my friend Sarah sent me a screenshot, thinking I should know. The ring glittered more than mine ever did. The caption read, "Sometimes love finds you in unexpected places. Grateful for this journey." Comments were disabled. At least they had that much shame. But 847 people liked it. Some of them had been at my wedding. I had a breakdown that night. I threw my phone across the room and it shattered against the wall. Then I lay on the floor of my tiny apartment and screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. Max lay down next to me, pressing his warm body against mine. At least I got the dog. But here's what nobody expected. I started getting better. Not right away, but slowly. I threw myself into work and got promoted. Started kickboxing. Went on a solo trip to Iceland. Under the northern lights alone in the freezing dark, I felt something like peace for the first time in months. A year after the divorce finalized, I met James at a bookstore. He was nothing like David, quiet, thoughtful. A high school teacher who loved hiking and made terrible puns that never quite landed. We met at a bookstore. He asked my opinion on Murakami, and we talked for 2 hours. I didn't tell him about David and Emma for 3 months. When I finally did, he held my hand. "That's their shame to carry, not yours. David and Emma got married 8 months ago. I didn't go. My dad didn't either. Mom did. And according to my brother, she cried through the entire ceremony. The family is fractured now permanently. There's the Emma and David side, and the 'they're both dead to me' side. Holidays are split. My brother and his wife do double duty so nobody feels abandoned. Last month, I ran into them at a restaurant. I was with James, celebrating his birthday. They were at a table near the window. Emma was visibly pregnant. Her hand kept moving to her belly in that protective way. David saw me first. The color drained from his face. Emma turned around. Our eyes met. For a moment, we just stared at each other. I waited for impact. None came. Not indifference, something adjacent, finally bearable. Their happiness didn't gut me the way I'd feared it would. James squeezed my hand. Want to leave? I looked at him, then back at their table, then at the room around us, the soft lighting, the low music, the other diners who had no idea what was happening. I belonged to this room as much as they did. No, I said, I'm staying. We finished our meal. I laughed at James's stories. I didn't look at their table again. When we left, James opened my car door and kissed my forehead. Proud of you, he whispered. I realized I was proud of me too. Betrayal teaches what you never asked to learn. Like how strong you actually are. Like how some people show you their true selves when you're not looking. Like how the family you choose matters more than the family you're born into. I still have bad days. Sometimes I see a woman who looks like Emma from behind and my stomach drops. Sometimes I wonder what my life would look like if I'd had kids with David, if we'd grown old together. Sometimes I'm angry they get to be happy after what they did. But mostly, I'm building something new. James and I are moving in together next month. I'm closer with my dad than ever. My real friends, the ones who stood by me, are still here. And I'm learning that happiness isn't about the big moments. It's about the small ones. Morning coffee, Max's excited dance when I come home. The way James looks at me like I'm enough. Because I am enough. I always was. Here's what I need you to understand. This isn't a revenge story. David and Emma didn't get cosmic punishment. They're probably happy. They'll probably stay married. Their kid will probably be healthy and loved. I've made peace with that. But I got something they'll never have. The knowledge that I'm capable of real loyalty. That I loved with my whole heart, without deception. That when I build something with James, it'll be built on truth. They'll always know what they did to get where they are. They'll carry that. When people ask if I'm over it, I tell them the truth. You never really get over something like this. You learn to carry it differently. Some days it's a boulder, some days it's a pebble. But it's always there, reminding you of who you used to be and who you've become. Now I know loyalty is a choice mine. Finally, here's my question for you. If you were in my position, could you have walked into that restaurant and stayed? Could you have watched them with their new life and not felt your own crumbling? Because that moment, choosing to stay, to not let them take one more piece of my life that was harder than finding them in my bed, what would you have done? Would you have forgiven your mother? Could you have moved forward? Tell me in the comments. This is my story, messy, painful, unfinished, but it's mine. And maybe that's enough.